Good morning. Happy Thirsty Thursday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Orange Bar here with Alex Smith, Jared Smith.
Jared Smith.
I definitely combined both of your names. That was good.
Off to a great start.
That was really good. I know, we're off to a great start, guys. But we are all wearing black, mourning the loss of the sportsbook's money that we're going to win today. Okay?
Mine's a little navy-ish, but it's dark. It's dark, but it's not quite black.
It 1000% looks black on camera.
It's fair. It's navy, but it's fair.
We've got a lot to talk about today. Because we're getting into some NFL news, obviously, with Trey Lance. He is now the man, the myth, the legend for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan kind of cleared that up for all of us at training camp. We have ACC Heisman watch. We talked about the Pac-12 last week, obviously, with guys like Cam Rising, guys like that. We're going to get into a little bit more of who we think maybe from the ACC has a chance to win the Heisman. And then, obviously, our Better Up segment, getting into some baseball MLB action. A lot of new series starting off today, some finishing today, some not playing today and starting tomorrow. So lots to get into, guys. So without further ado, let's get it. Let's bet it. NFL, Trey Lance and the 49ers. He announced that the 49er QB1, this is Trey's team. So Kyle Shanahan erased basically all doubt surrounding the quarterback situation, said it's nothing against Jimmy, but they made the decision a year ago. They're going to stick with that. Said, they like his processing and decision-making skills in terms of Trey Lance, and they hope that continues to develop this season. And I'll start with you, Jared. What have you seen from him, I guess, in the minimal amount of time that he's been able to play? And how do you think that he's going to kind of fit into this offense heading into this season?
Well, his numbers weren't great last year, minimal time. I think the Niners as a team is where you hope that Trey Lance can play well. Because he's in a great, arguably the best situation you could possibly be in. He's got a roster that's ready-made to win right now. The question mark is, will he fit into whatever, Kyle Shanahan and company are going to try to do? They've got all the weapons in the world on that team. We'll see how Debo's motivation is after his offseason, but it does appear like he is in a really good situation to succeed. But I have no idea what that offense is going to look like. You would expect there to be a lot of bells and whistles and use Trey Lance's mobility and such, but it's a hard handicap to say, yeah, I think Trey Lance is going to have a really good season because we just don't know. He's a relatively unproven guy that came from a small school that hasn't had a lot of playing time at the pro level. So hard to predict how he'll do, but if he does do well, the situation in San Francisco, I think, is very conducive to wins.
Yeah, Alex, when you look at their offense, how do you think Trey fits in? From what we've seen from him, obviously, in college, it's been a second, and then the limited snaps that we saw from him last year.
Well, he also got limited snaps at North Dakota State as well, only one season as a starter there. So we haven't seen a whole lot of Trey Lance anywhere. So as far as what he's going to be able to do offensively, I think Jared is right. He kind of walked into the perfect situation because there were no expectations for him last year to start. So he's got a full season of just sitting back, watching, really learning the offense and just getting practice reps, mental reps, and being around and being in NFL quarterback rooms and just getting that feel. So there was no pressure for him right away. Now I feel like maybe there are some expectations, and I think he is going to have the ability to step in and play. I mean, there's a reason why the Niners wouldn't have given up all they did to move up and get Trey Lance if they didn't believe that he could be the guy at some point. The question is going to be what Kyle Shanahan chooses to do with him, right? Because we've seen Shanahan have successful quarterbacks in the past with guys like Matt Ryan and Jimmy G, but Trey Lance is a completely different guy. And I'm kind of going back to Kyle Shanahan's days in Washington and what he did with RG3. I think we could see some wrinkles like what happened in Washington there to use Trey Lance's mobility. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of how he adapts. I think Lance has the ability to play in that Niners offense, but he also has the ability to improvise. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of what that adds to this Niners offense.
Now we move east and south because Julio Jones is back, baby. He signs a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's been a weird couple of years for this guy. Like, at once he was the best wide receiver, obviously, in the NFL. Had a bad season last year with Tennessee. Spent 10 years before that with the Falcons. I think this is going to be really good for him to play alongside a guy like Tom Brady. Also a stacked wide receiver room that has guys like, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, now Russell Gage, right? Yeah, I know he struggled with injuries last year. He caught 34 passes, 431 yards. It's going to be interesting to see how he does with a guy like Tom Brady under center. Do you think we're going to see the Julio from like last year and the last couple of years, or do you think we're going to see the Julio Jones from in his prime? Now 33 years old, Jared. I know you know what that feels like, being in your mid-30s. What do we think we can expect from a guy like Julio Jones?
Calling me straight out.
I'm feisty this morning.
You are feisty this morning. She's back in Denver. She's rearing ready to go. I would almost argue that I'm in my late 30s, but we won't. That's not the topic at hand. That's not the topic at hand right now. Let's focus on the topic. So it's kind of funny because the market in the NFL is it's more volatile, and I listened to a podcast yesterday with a pro bettor that I really trust and respect, and even he said he's been betting on the NFL for 30 years, and even he said the last year the market has been moving at a ridiculous pace, responding to things that are happening in the news cycle. For example, yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever the Julio Jones news broke, thousands of dollars came in at Caesars on the Russell Gage under props. It moved from 750 to 575 yards, like in a minute. And like those are the types of things where you see, a signing in a news story, and if you beat the market, you could literally go under 750, over 575 in a matter of minutes. But that being said, I do think that kind of reaction is the type of vibe that we're going to see in Tampa. All of a sudden, Russell Gage, who was brought in to be a bit of a catalyst to an offense that's had the same pieces really in place for the last 2 seasons, one of them being a Super Bowl. And now all of a sudden there's another catalyst in the mix. And I'll be honest, if Julio Jones is healthy, even if he's healthy for 8 games, if I'm the Bucs or if I'm a fan or if I'm Tom Brady, I'm telling Julio Jones, buddy, I'm picking the 8 games on the schedule right now, and I want 100%. The other games, go through the motions, get your body right. We know you've been through a lot of injuries, but if you're giving me Julio Jones for 8 games at the peak on this Bucs team that's already stacked, that can make an impact. Yeah. And I think we're going to be talking about him during the season if he does stay healthy.
Alex, your thoughts? Is Julio Jones back? Is he back?
No. He's as far as, I mean, I have no reason to believe that he is. I mean, Jared, if you're throwing out, if he can stay healthy is a huge if. He wasn't healthy at all in Tennessee. And he really wasn't healthy his last couple of years in Atlanta either. But when he was playing at such a high level, but it was so volatile because he couldn't stay healthy consistently. So, I mean, I'm not going to repeat everything Jared just said, but if he can be healthy, having a guy like Julio Jones, a freak like Julio Jones opposite Mike Evans is just unfair. But that's a big if.
And Chris
That's
Godwin.
a big if.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
So
it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, training camp going on right now. Preseason starts in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. It's so crazy. It's almost August. Like, where is time gone this summer? But it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of fits into that lineup. But it is hard, or it is not as hard to be a good player when you have Tom Brady at quarterback. Just putting that out there too. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward in preseason. Obviously, we don't see that much of these guys in preseason because they get a lot of like the third, fourth stringers in there to get some reps, especially the first couple of weeks, and then get more into their starting lineup.
We're not seeing any of Julio Jones in preseason. I can tell you that. We're not seeing any Julio Jones in preseason.
I will say, I remember looking at numbers last year with the Titans, and I don't actually have all the numbers, so I'm paraphrasing and kind of just remembering as best I can. But when Jones and A.J. Brown were both on the field in Tennessee last year, I remember the numbers were really good. Now, that didn't happen a lot, but when it did happen, problems were had.
It doesn't happen often.
And that was with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. So extrapolate that to Tom Brady. I think if there is a shred of, gas left in the tank for Julio, I think Tom's going to get the most out of it. I have that feeling.
I agree with you too. Okay, let's take it from men to boys. We're taking it to the ACC Heisman watch. We went over the Pac-12 last week with the likes of Caleb Williams, Quinn Ewers. Reminders for you too, because I looked this up. Quarterbacks have dominated the last 20 years. They've won 16 out of the last 20 Heisman trophies. The winner usually comes from a team with a chance to win the national title. And it is crazy because I know seniors have dominated basically the whole time the Heisman has been in existence. But over the last 14 years, only 3 seniors have won the Heisman Trophy. 11 people have not been seniors, which is crazy to think about. Now we look into the ACC. So I want to start, obviously, in Miami with Tyler Van Dyke. He's at 35-1 odds right now. Last season, De'Aaron King was injured. Van Dyke took over. They started the season at 2-4, and then they won 5 of their last 6 games. They were huge favorites before the Sun Bowl, before COVID basically made them forfeit that game. But you look at some of his numbers. He secured himself that starting quarterback job. His last 6 games, passed for at least 300 yards in each game, 20 touchdown passes in those 6, only 3 interceptions. He won the ACC Rookie of the Year and averaged 9 yards per attempt last year. The only guy that had a higher passer rating was, guess what? Another Heisman Trophy candidate, and Kenny Pickett. Do you think this guy, Tyler Van Dyke, under center in Miami, with a new head coach, has a chance to be able to win the Heisman Trophy this year, Alex?
Well, as a Heisman voter, let me just start.
Okay.
Are you wait? Are you really a Heisman?
Yeah,
voter?
he was talking about this.
I voted the last 2 Heisman. I don't think I'm gonna have a vote this year, but I think I've had the last 2 years. So as a Heisman,
you could have gotten inside information. Who'd you vote for last year? You vote for Bryce?
Devontae Smith. If I remember, no, it was
that was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago. It was Young or Stroud last year.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. Hold on.
You voted. Do you remember who you voted for?
I've nailed the last 2. Yeah,
but he is a Heisman
Bryce
Trophy
Young
voter, Jared. That's all that matters. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Bryce Young.
I apologize for interrupting.
I think I put Pickett third. Pickett was third on my.
Pickett was third. So you went Young, Stroud, Pickett. Okay, I mean Young won, so I mean it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, but listen, if you're asking me about Tyler Van Dyke, I do think that there is a path for him to maybe have some value at what is it, 35-1? Is that what you said?
35-1.
I mean, this is a guy that came on in a big way for Miami, threw for almost 3,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, and he was splitting time for those first couple games. Didn't really get to really do his thing. I mean, threw 6 interceptions, but 3 of those came in one game. Wasn't making a lot of mistakes there. And he also has that big playability, because when you're talking Heisman, you have to have those memorable plays that are going to be on the loops for the whole season. This is a guy that had 30 completions of 30 yards or more last year. So he has big playability. He's got a big arm. Is Miami back? Big question. Is Miami back? Find out.
They might be.
They might be, but I like Tyler Van Dyke and what I saw from him last year. I really do.
Yeah, and he has an opportunity here the first couple of weeks to put up some big numbers early. They have games against Bethune-Cookman, Southern Miss, and their first real big game is against Texas A&M on September 17th. But before that, he could kind of get some practice reps in. I'm not talking bad about, obviously, Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss, but he has a chance to put up some big numbers, kind of make a splash before their first big game against Texas A&M. Jared, I want to move to Clemson because I'm so bad at saying his last name. I'm going to butcher it again. I say it
Uiagalelei.
bad every year. I'm just going to say DJ.
Uiagalelei.
DJU.
DJU.
I'm just going to say DJ. Because I've never known how to say it. I didn't know how to say it last year. I still don't know how to say it this year. DJU, baby. Again, another guy at 35 to 1 odds. He had a tough time filling in Trevor Lawrence's shoes last year. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
Hold on. Time out. I want to revisit something because I did not put Kenny Pickett on my ballot. Aiden Hutchinson was my third place vote. I just looked it up because I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. I'm glad we clarified that, Alex. Thank you so
Very
much.
important clarification.
Anyways, he had a tough time filling in Trevor Lawrence's shoes last season. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. I think he's going to have a bigger bounce back year this year because Dabo Swinney recently defended him, saying that this guy is a winner. He's now in the best shape of his life. Over the last 6 months, Jared, lost 30 pounds. He was at 265. He's now 240 this offseason. He said he hasn't been eating sweets. He hasn't been eating anything unhealthy, and he's even looking to shed a few more pounds. And said now that he can move better, he's more agile, more mobile, should be a bigger threat in the run game. I just feel like that kind of commitment and sacrifice to get your body right says a lot about a player. Do you think that this guy losing 30, 35 pounds before the season and really dedicating his time to working on his body, working on his mind, can have a better season? I mean, it couldn't be much worse, but have a better season this year and maybe at 35 to 1 odds be a good longer shot to win the Heisman.
I think he has played better this year. There's two problems with DJU. First things first, he isn't a guy that you would think to be a Heisman guy. Like, his stuff is not like he doesn't throw a great deep ball. He's more of a mobile quarterback. Like, I don't view him as like the reason that Clemson is going to win a bunch of games this year is going to be him.
Yeah.
His second problem is the number one quarterback recruit in the country is right behind him. And we'll talk about him in a minute. We can talk about him now since they're both on the same team.
He's not getting snaps this year. He's not getting
Cade Klubnik. I mean, maybe not, but he is 60 to 1 to win the Heisman. And that is not a very long price for a guy that's not expected to get snaps. Yeah. So clearly somebody thinks he's going to play in some capacity, because if he wasn't expected to get any snaps, he would not be 60 to 1 to win this award. Now, maybe those odds can change between now and the start of the season if it does get revealed that he is well back on the depth chart. I do think Clemson's success this year, win-loss wise, is going to be early on the shoulders of DJU. But listen, I think Clemson is not a team, in my eyes, that is going to win a lot of games with their offense. Like, they are going to win games with their defense. And also, they play in a conference that is so bad that all it will take is one loss, and any national title, Heisman hopes are probably out the window. So it's a lot of pressure on anyone in this conference. Frankly, I don't think anyone in this conference is going to win the Heisman. I don't even think anyone in this conference is going to be in New York at the podium. But if there was a guy that I think I would consider betting on, it would be Klubnik. If he does start. Now, he has to start first. He has to play.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet it until he starts. But the number, and he's on a team that has a chance to be successful, and the number is long enough to where I would be willing to buy in. But I don't know anything about this kid, and I don't know when he's going to play. So that makes it very hard to bet. But
it's going to be.
I don't see a ton of value on Clemson.
Totally. And Alex, I want to ask you about this too, because Cade Klubnik obviously is a freshman coming into Clemson, 60 to 1 odds at this point to win the Heisman. Former 5-star recruit, an Elite 11 MVP. He led his high school, because I know high school and college are so similar. They're not. But he did lead his high school to consecutive undefeated seasons and 2 state championships in Texas top classification. He also looked pretty good in the spring game, watching him a little bit. He could be a good outside pick, but realistically, and Alex, I don't know if you agree with me, I don't think this guy is going to be seeing the field much this season. He's just excited about his freshman year and looking forward to being there. But you see a lot of these guys, how much they bulk up their freshman year. He could be the starter next year, obviously. Well, he will be. Is DJU a senior this year, or is he still a junior?
I think he's an underclass.
Junior, I believe. He's a young guy.
So I mean, I think it's going to be more of a quarterback battle next season. I think Cade's going to need to bulk up his body a little bit, get ready and used to college speed and level, because obviously college is a big step up from high school, and then NFL is a big step up from college. You have to get ready for that. What are your thoughts, Alex?
Well, first of all, you're talking about QB battle. Like, if this guy sits behind DJU this year and, doesn't feel like he can get time next year, like, he's not going to just hit that transfer portal. These kids aren't sitting around for 2 years anymore. That's not happening. What I would say, I think Jared is spot on with it really depends on who's playing quarterback, because it comes down to what Dabo does, right? If DJU comes out and struggles and isn't playing well, but Clemson is still winning, is he going to take the Kirby Smart approach and maybe keep his guy in who got him there, and let Justin Fields sit on the bench, and then, you have Justin Fields jump to Ohio State? Or is he going to take the approach of some other coaches? I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I just lost it. But, guys who aren't afraid. Nick Saban, not afraid to pull the plug at any moment and throw in a Bryce Young or throw in a Tua Tagovailoa when, the time is right, just to, you need to win, you need plays. And those are the differences, right? It's out of the hands of the players, and it's really a matter of what Dabo is going to do this season. Is he committed to DJ, or is it really going to be a QB battle because, you have a 5-star guy waiting in the wings right behind them? So,
yeah,
I think it's tough to bet on any Clemson quarterback right now because DJ is such a wild card.
A couple other guys to keep in mind: Devin Leary at 50-1 odds, Heisman Trophy sleeper NC State. I think they're going to be really good this year due to him. And then Kedon Slovis at 60-1 too. Lofty Shoes to fill in for Heisman Trophy semifinalist Kenny Pickett. And also tough because Jordan Addison transferred to this spring to none other than USC. So they kind of switched spots. But a couple other guys to keep in mind in the Heisman Trophy voting. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. And obviously we're going to be talking a lot more about that as the college season starts. Lofty hands. I wonder if his hands are bigger than Kenny Pickett's hands. It's not hard to beat that, but you know what? We'll see what happens. Okay, let's take it from the boys to the ballpark because we got some MLB action to be talking about today. My favorite segment is the Trend Your Friend. I got a few good trends for you guys today. Alex, I'm going to start with you. Are you either tailing the trend, you're fading the trend, or you're passing on the trend? Red Sox run line against the Guardians. The Red Sox are 10-0 on the run line in their last 10 as underdogs versus the Guardians. How do you feel about this trend? Is it your friend?
10-0 on the run line. I think the trend is my friend here. I'll ride with the trend. The trend is my friend in this spot. Yeah.
Jared?
Let's go with it.
Mackenzie Crawford. I think our buddy Keith Schmelter has a NRFI in this game, but that has nothing to do with this. Man, it's tough to pick Boston right now. They are just a disaster.
Dumpster fire. They
really are, but the Guardians aren't exactly gangbusters, and desperation is a funky cologne. Red Sox run line. Sure, why not? I'll take the one in the hook.
We got some friends, baby. You'll love to see it. Okay, how about this one? The Blue Jays taking on my Detroit Tigers. NRFI, no runs first inning, is 7-0 in the last 7 Tigers games in Toronto. Jared, friending or defriending?
Well, it's kind of funny because on my sheet today, the Tigers Blue Jays YRFI is the best edge on my sheet because Tyler Alexander and Yusei Kikuchi are gas can city. Kikuchi's awful, but he hasn't started in a month because he was injured. And apparently I was reading this morning that he changed his slider grip during his month off. He hasn't pitched since July 5th. I'm just kind of talking in circles now. No, I'm not friending this trend because I'm trusting my numbers. I'm trusting my sheet. My sheet says this is a YRFI game. So, no bueno.
Alex?
I trust the nerd. The trend is not my friend. No. And I also don't like changing. So we have one friend
and we have one defriend, no longer in the top 8 on MySpace. What about this one? Mariners run line. Mariners 8-0. Is run line dogs in their last 8 games. They play more one-run games than any other team in Major League Baseball. Alex, how do you feel about this one?
Mariners run line. Let me see. Who's pitching today? Oh, my guy, Gilbert. Mariners. You said Mariners run line?
Run line. They're 8-0 in their last 8.
Give me the Mariners on the
run
run
dog.
line today. I love it. The trend is my friend. We got my guy on the bump today. I'm rolling with the Mariners.
Love it. Gerard?
Logan Gilbert.
My dog is freaking out right now. He's got his head buried in the couch the second you started
Love that.
talking about the Mariners, and he's like having a hissy fit in the corner over here. But I think when I look at this game, I do like Seattle. Urquidy's been a little bit and so these teams just played last weekend, and Houston kicked the crap out of them. I have a feeling that doesn't happen again tonight. At least I think this game stays close. So yeah, I do like that trend. You're really good. Honestly, Lauren, I don't know where you find these, but they are.
I'm not telling. Even Justin.
No, don't tell me. I don't because then I don't want to cheat.
Our producer, he texted me, "Where did you find the trend?" And I didn't.
And you won't even tell Justin?
Wow.
No, I think I know. It's probably some kind of Braves connection that you have that gets them.
If you guys want trends, I'll send them to you, but I'm not telling you my location where I get them from. Okay, I have one more for you. Pirates versus Phillies under. The under is 7-1 in the last 8 Pirates-Phillies games.
I'm on this. Well, because I like the NRFI in this game, so yes, I would befriend this one.
Love that for us.
I would befriend this one. Yeah.
Alex hates the undersweat.
Zach Thompson.
Zach Wheeler on the mound today. Wheeler's on the mound today.
Wheeler is on the mound. You're right. Zach Wheeler is on the mound. But Zach Thompson. Let's talk about Zach.
Zach Thompson's had his moments. He just gave up 7 runs to the Marlins. Trust me, I looked at the game.
Yeah, just gave up 7 runs to the Marlins. I don't know if the trend is my friend there. Just
boy,
you can't give up 7 runs to the Marlins.
Maybe we'll get the NRFI home at least. At least get the NRFI home. We'll talk about.
Let's get the NRFI home. Let's get the. We can split. We can split it here.
I like it. Let's get into YRFIs and NRFIs because yesterday, no runs first inning went 7-7. LOL, 50%. It's still hitting at an over 54% rate in July and up almost 20 units. Those no runs first inning. The 2 biggest edges on Jared's sheet are, Jared, please tell us why.
Well, I gave you Detroit-Toronto to the YRFI. That does go against your trend, though. So that's a good reason not to bet that one. And the other one that I really liked, what was the other one that was on my sheet today? Hold on. Sorry. The rundown went bye-bye for a second. The Seattle-Houston NRFI. Again, the dog, every time we talk about the Seattle-Houston game, my dog just goes nuts. Maybe we should stay away from this game.
The Mariners, the dogs are barking. It's the Mariners.
The dogs might be barking. Oh, I know why. It's because Urquidy and Gilbert. Gilbert's numbers actually are unbelievable to the NRFI. Since 2019, he's 38-6, which is a really juicy number. So I've got these 2 guys, Gilbert and Urquidy, combined for an 80% NRFI rate, which is pretty high. And that's the highest NRFI edge on my sheet. I saw -102 at FanDuel. That's a really good edge there if you can get that price. And then on the Detroit-Toronto side, on the YRFI side, a little too pricey for me. I think it's -115, -120 to the YRFI. And just the uncertainty with Kikuchi. Hasn't started in a month, and he fixed his slider grip. Like, he might come out and pitch like 1 or 2 really good innings today. And then that means you have to trust the Blue Jays to score against Tyler Alexander, which absolutely could happen. But do I want to pay -110, -115 when it's really one team that's going to score here? Like, I'd rather just bet the Blue Jays to score at plus money, which is a bet that is available at some sports books. The Blue Jays or one specific team to score in that half inning. You cut your odds in half, but you do get plus money. So I'm not betting either of those 2, but I would consider betting the Blue Jays to score plus money because of Alexander.
Okay. I like it, guys. Let's get into our picks. Obviously, Jared, your best bet of the day is going to be a NRFI. Alex, your best bet of the day is a strikeout prop, and so is mine. But what about this Phillies run line that you're betting, Alex? Why do you like that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Phillies on the run line today. DraftKings had the best price I saw this morning. I believe it was -115. I'm really liking Zach Wheeler. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Zach Wheeler on the bump against a bad Pirates lineup. They have one of the worst OPS in the league, and Wheeler's just been kind of lights out all season. A 1.04 WHIP, 2.78 ERA. The Pirates have really struggled to generate runs lately, and I'm looking at Zach Thompson on the bump for the Pirates, and I like the Phillies to get to him. Like Jared said, he just gave up 7 runs to the Marlins, so I'm looking for the Phillies to win this one by at least 2 runs and be able to cover that run line.
I like it. I like it a lot. Jared, we're going to save your walk this way parlay for a second because I have 2 strikeout props and 1 money line bet that I'm making today. One of my strikeout props is actually my best bet of the day, so I'll save that for the end of the show. But the other one I'm looking at is Zach Wheeler, over 6.5 Ks at plus money, plus 110. This for me is a little bit of an odds play because I know he's definitely capable of getting 7. He hasn't hit this number in his last 4 starts, but he has reached this number in 10 starts this season. And then you look at who he's going against. He's going against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have the 7th highest strikeout rate against righties over the last 2 weeks. They're striking out at a 25% rate. They're also 3rd to last in strikeout rate this season. They're averaging 9.30 strikeouts per game. In their last 3 games, they're averaging 11.33 strikeouts per game. And they also only have a 6.5% walk rate and a 63 WRC plus over that same time. So I could see a guy like Zach Wheeler being able to make it deeper into the game and getting that number. He only needs to pitch like 6 and maybe a third inning, 6 and 2/3 innings to be able to hit this number, and getting it at plus money. I like it. Sign me up for it. It's more of a gutsy, bally play, but you know, I'm here for it, guys. Bring out the kahunas. The other game I'm looking at is the Astros taking on the Mariners. We talked about the Mariners playing the most one-run games out of any team in Major League Baseball. I'm looking at their money line, actually, instead of the run line at plus 122. So Seattle's coming off of a series against the Rangers. They swept the series. The Astros are coming off of a series where they got swept by the A's. Logan Gilbert starting for the Mariners, 10-4 on the season with a 2.77 ERA in 20 starts so far this year. The Astros are putting Jose Urquidy on the bump. He's 9-4. He has good numbers too, 3.93 ERA. But the Mariners are 6-1 in game ones of a series in their last 7 game ones. Seattle is 24-6 in their last 30 games overall. This team is on a freaking roll. I'm going with Seattle here. They should have a solid matchup. Gilbert has just 3 earned in his last 2 starts, 11 innings pitched, 9 hits, 1 walk. I like those numbers. I know Urquidy's coming off of a win over Seattle back on July 22nd, but this game is going to come down to the wire. I think Seattle has a really good shot to win here. And as moneyline dogs, woo, the dogs are barking, just like Jackpot in the background.
He actually went, while you were talking, he went back into my room and went into his crate and started chewing his bone. So he liked your handicap so much that he not only calmed down, but he never goes into his crate by himself. So you must have
I love that.
Spoke to him to tell him to shut the hell up so we can finish this show. I'll add to your handicap. Jose Urquidy's numbers against the Mariners are god awful. 336 average against in 123 plate appearances. And someone in the chat mentioned that, and that's why I went to go look at his numbers against Seattle. They are bad. So thank you to whoever that person was in the chat who said Urquidy gets owned by the Mariners, because he does. So absolutely, sign me up for Seattle tonight.
Woo woo! Seattle money line plus 122. All right, let's walk this way until you walk this way. Play.
Yeah, let's do it. Big one tonight, plus 425. Decent odds here. We'll start with there's basically all 3 games are relatively early time slots. We'll start with the with the Yankees and the Royals. Brady Singer, over 1.5. Laying $2 for this one. But listen, I mean, his numbers are decent, but the Yankees' numbers against righties is why we really like this one. 19 of the last 25 right-handed starters have gone over 1.5 against the Yankees. They have the highest walk rate in baseball this season against right-handed pitching. Anytime a righty's at 1.5 against the Yankees, if it's a relatively low price, when I say relatively low, I mean like minus 200 is pretty much the cap, because that's saying 6-7 out of 10 times. Well, that's what we're seeing with a lot of these Yankees games. So I feel good about laying $2 here with Singer. He's gone over in 2 straight, and he's walked 7 batters in those last 2 starts. So while his first part of the season was good, his overall hit rate's really solid. But over the last month or so, he's been ticking up with his walk. So we'll go over 1.5 on Singer. We'll go over 1.5 on Gilbert. And I know we like the Mariners tonight, but when you look at Gilbert's numbers at Houston earlier this year, he had 3 walks, and he's walking 2 times as many batters on the road per 9, nearly 3, as he is at home, 1.5. So while I do think Gilbert's has a decent chance to pitch well tonight, the walks have been an issue, and this is a very fair price at minus 110 against an Astros team that has forced 20 of the last 25 righties to go over 1.5 at Minute Maid Park. When right-handed starters come into Minute Maid Park, they walk batters, and Houston overall is a top 5 team walk rate against lefties and righties this year, but specifically over 9% against righties. So we'll throw Gilbert in there over 1.5, and we'll finish with Tristan McKenzie over 1.5, the Guardians pitcher going against the Red Sox tonight. So if you recall, we bet McKenzie last week, and people thought I was crazy because he only had like a 35% hit rate on the year. But when I looked at his walks per 9 last season at 4.3, and I was looking at this season, which is still around 2.4, I was like, there's going to be regression there, because you don't just magically wake up and shave 2 walks per 9 off of your card after one season in the big. So McKenzie's still a regression candidate. Overall, Boston's not a high walk rate team. This is not a bet on Boston's lineup. This is a fade of McKenzie and a bet on regression in the second half for a guy that, again, has been around 4 walks per 9 throughout his career. And this season, he's been well below that. So pretty good numbers there, over 1.5 at minus 120. I'm betting all these solo, 1 unit each, putting a half unit on the parlay at plus 425.
Walk this way, parlay. My voice is not as good at 8:30 in the morning in Denver as it is at 10:30 at Eastern time. But you know what? It's okay, because we're walking this way into Pickswise.com. Who do we got for a 3-star play of the day, Gerard, before we get into our play of the days?
We got a lot today, actually. I was on the site earlier. Remember, we have more Saratoga action. Remember yesterday at Toga, the ponies were running yesterday. Martin Pennington had some picks. He's got more picks on the site today if you're a pony player. I mentioned Keith Schmelter has the NRFI in the Guardians Red Sox game. There's also another NRFI that he has on the site. One of them is that one is mine. We'll get to it in a minute. And also we have an MLS play on the site. And oh, by the way, I did see this gentleman, Colorado Man 63, asked about EPL futures. EPL starts next week, boys and girls. Very exciting. So yes, I will be on the road for a lot of next week, but Colorado Man 63, thank you for your comment. Futures, EPL preview, soccer in some capacity, kick picks will be happening in the next week or so, because I know everyone loves the EPL, so.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's get into our best bets of the day. Alex, I'll start with our strikeout props. I'm going to you for Singer. How do you like him?
Oh, man.
I thought when you were saying your voice isn't as good, I thought you were going to finish with as Alex's voice, but
I'll be honest. I think I'm Team Glaze. If I was voting for American Idol on LBI, I think I would give Alex the vote. Okay. I'm not a Heisman voter, but I'm an American Idol voter.
Fair enough. Okay, so I'm going to go with the guy, Brady Singer, who Jared talked a little bit about earlier when he was doing his walk this way parlay. I think, Jared, you like over 1.5 walks for Singer. I'm looking at over 4.5 strikeouts for Singer. So we're watching that Yankees game very closely tonight. Yeah. Singer's coming off a career-high 12 strikeout performance against the Rays, has thrown 5 or more strikeouts in 8 of his last 10 starts, and has 32 strikeouts in his last 4 starts, and a 33.3 strikeout rate. Just incredible stuff. I'm looking at him. He's ranking 68th in the 68th percentile in K rate. The Yankees do have a powerful lineup, and that's why probably this number is only 4.5, because people are maybe scared of that Yankees lineup. But I like Singer to get us at least 5 strikeouts tonight. So over 4.5 strikeouts is my play.
I like it.
I'm also on a strikeout prop today before we get in. Oops.
I think Lauren just hit her refresh button by mistake.
They didn't want me to get my best bet of the day, because as I was clicking to talk about my bet, my internet just shut off for a second. So we're back, baby. We're back.
Hey, we're back. I was getting ready to give your handicap for you, but please continue.
No. Okay, I'll give my handicap anyways. Thank you. Apparently, my computer just didn't want me to do that because my internet just turned off. Or not my internet, my Google Chrome. Thank you. Words Thursday. It's happening. Okay, Tristan McKenzie Over 5.5 strikeouts at -106. He's gone over this total in 5 of his last 8 starts, in 3 of his last 5 starts, and he's going up against the Red Sox, who, as we had talked about a little bit ago, have been struggling. And not just struggling, they've been struggling especially against righties over the last couple of weeks. They have a K rate of 30% over the last 2 weeks, which is dead last in baseball. And in their last 3 games, they're averaging 8 strikeouts per game. You look at a guy like McKenzie, he has 45 Ks over his last 43 innings pitched in his last 7 games. That's over 1 strikeout per inning. He needs to make it 6 innings to hit this. I think he's going to be able to. And only laying 6 cents for it. Sign me up. Tristan McKenzie over 5.5 Ks and -106. Let's end it out, Jared, with a good old no-run first inning, because obviously they've been hitting at a wild rate this July.
They have been over 54%, ton of units if you're just blind betting every NRFI. And if I feel like based on the reaction I get with these sheets and these bets every day, everyone's betting the NRFI every day. We did get a comment in the chat, Jeff Bach. No, I'm not betting the NRFI at Coors Field today. If you recall, a couple weeks ago when the Dodgers came into Coors Field, I bet the NRFI every day and I lost every day. I am not doing that again. If you want to bet the NRFI at Coors Field, it is showing up on my sheet as a massive edge. But do you trust Jose Urena against the Dodgers, who have scored I think 7 of the last 10 first innings? I would be very mindful today, even though the price, as always, is very favorable at Coors Field. I'm staying away. Instead, we are going to the Steel City. And we're going to this Phillies Pirates game, and we're going to bet the NRFI at -115 over at Bet365 price. Considering Zach Wheeler's on the mound, 18-1 this season, and he's hitting the NRFI at over 82% since 2019. So I feel very confident we can eliminate the Pirates side of this bet. In the bottom of the first inning, the Pirates are not going to score a run. I feel good about that. Now we have to go to the other side with Zach Thompson against this Phillies lineup. Well, Thompson's numbers this year are average to the NRFI, I would say, maybe slightly below average. Here's the one positive. He's faced Kyle Schwarber 3 times. He struck him out twice. That's the guy to me that scares me. If they can get through Kyle Schwarber, who's been on a ridiculous tear this month, he's going to lead off the game most likely as the #1 hitter. Maybe he bats second. But if they can get past Kyle Schwarber, I feel like we're going to hit this. And, oh, by the way, Philly has the 3rd lowest run scoring rate on the road this season in the first inning at just 17%. So maybe at home, Schwarber's a guy that hits a bunch of home runs in the bottom of the first. But in the top of the first inning, which is when the Phillies are going to be batting here, the Phillies haven't really had very much success in the top of the first inning this year, which is a 17% scoring rate. So I feel good about this up to maybe 120, 125. At 115 over at Bet365, I feel very good. Yes, I'm absolutely petrified about Zach Thompson, but I feel good about that being the only side of this that I'm worried about, because on the other side with Wheeler, very confident. So we'll try the NRFI again here. We've had it's been a rough couple nights betting NRFIs for our plays of the day.
You know what? Tonight's the night, baby. Tonight's the night. That's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Alex Glaze. Jared Smith, because I messed up your names at the beginning of the show. I'm Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.